see what we can make happen, I think the progress of medicine would move, incredibly fast. All the time, you come up with something and you do the research and it's been patented and maybe your idea is slightly different, but they might hold a patent on a core, part of your idea. So, a lot of times it's just, that's out of the question. It holds back knowledge exchange very clearly. So many things just aren't developed because people are holding a patent onto it. The cure for cancer could be a step away, but, it's off limits. They might sit on that idea forever and do nothing with it.
When I say culture is threatened, I don't just mean music and movies. I really do mean everything. The concept of intellectual property is addictive. Once you realize that ideas can be more profitable than oil or gold or even land, then there's no limit to what can be thought of as property. In 1980, the US Supreme Court ruled that living organisms could be patented. Soon after this decision, ayahuasca, a plant from the Amazon rainforest, was patented by an American entrepreneur. The plant has been used for generations by Amazonians for medicinal and spiritual practice. Now that you could patent life, the race was on. The 20th century had been the century of property, of land. The 21st century was to be the century of intellectual property, of ideas. In the 1990s, the United States hatched a plan to trade the economy of things for the economy of ideas. And the man who would protect these ideas was Bruce Lehman.
In the Clinton administration, my job was to being in charge of the intellectual property policy of the United States, both domestically and in terms of our diplomacy. In a modern economy, I think wealth is in the products of the mind. It's really in intellectual creations. In much of the world, we live in a sea of piracy. And, you can have sympathy for developing countries, but we made a deal. If you go to a shopping mall in this country, you cannot buy anything made in the United States anymore. It all comes from China or some other place like that. Well, the reason for that is that we've completely opened up our markets. It was a conscious decision to basically abandon low-wage manufacturing jobs, and the idea is that we would compensate for that with higher wage, high-tech information, more intangible-based jobs.
The idea was that they would convince the world's economies to adopt laws that prohibited the copying of American ideas without American permission. And in exchange, it would require all the countries that wanted to manufacture stuff and export them here to adopt American copyright laws. And if they didn't, they wouldn't be allowed to sell their goods, their physical goods here in America. And the World Trade Organization would be the teeth.
And the difficulty in the global trading system is that we met our part of the bargain, but these other countries didn't meet theirs.
Mickey Mouse ni Donald Duck? それにミニーちゃんも? 一見おなじみのディズニーのキャラクターたち.
This knockoff of the happiest place on earth highlights a problem with the American plan. For better or for worse, the information age is all about copying ideas.
シンデレラ城のようなお城にあの人気アトラクションそっくりの乗り物まで。
米老鼠什么的有吗？没有是吗？我们是大耳猫，我们是猫，你注意一下。
I have to say that we're now more than a decade, I guess we're 12 years into our policies on digital copyrights. I feel that it also has not achieved the results that we wanted.
ディズニーに行くのは遠いので、設計山遊園地に行こうと書かれています。
And so I'm thinking, well, maybe we should have forgotten intellectual property rights internationally and gone for labor standards in the environment.
Well, that would have been a good idea. But instead of pushing for fair trade policies, the US is trying to build an economy that can't be built. Since enacting these policies, the US trade deficit has nearly tripled. To top it off, the whole world is now stuck making criminals out of its citizens to enforce laws that can't be enforced. I don't know about you, but I'm ready for number 4. To build free societies, you need to limit the control of the past.
When America was a developing nation after the Revolution and for its first 100 years, it did not honor any copyrights save those that were generated by American authors. So foreign authors like Charles Dickens were widely and enthusiastically pirated by the American presses, who used the proceeds from this to subsidize the printing of Mark Twain, a local author. And so the idea that Burundi or Brazil or India needs a copyright law like America's in order to compete with America is absolutely wrong. What American history has shown us is that what they need is a copyright law like America had in 1776.
Listen to this latest remix of our favorite bittersweet song. It was created by the same country that defied United States intellectual property laws by breaking multiple international patents on HIV medication, producing their own copies of the drug for a fraction of the price. Free, universal access for citizens was their mission. The drug industry saw this as an act of war. Brazil saw it as an act of life.
Brazil is fighting for access to drugs to fight AIDS for all its people. This policy has resulted in controversy at international forums. So we've put our case to the world, and we fought for it.
Remixing the art, science, and knowledge of the world's culture is second nature to Brazilians, and now it's government policy.
Muito bom, hein? Tá fechado, tá fechado.
Lawrence Lessig traveled to Brazil in 2004 for inspiration and imagined an alternative global copyright system, Creative Commons.
Creative Commons was born to set culture free. A license that says, I as a musician give you the right to sample my work, take and build, create, remix. And the most important place where that conversation began was here in Brazil. I come from the land where we talk about being free. I come from a land where we are lost. You are our brother in this debate.